in the early game to get to that late game status.
Yeah, we'll see if the likes of Deep Cross Gaming can hold them off, or if it will be a J-Team success story in game number 1 here. Remember, this series, we will see the winner heading into the lower bracket finals for a shot at the grand finals. They'll have to clear through PSG Talon to do it, but in this series, it is winner go home. There is no more elimination after the double. So, kicking things off, Deep Cross going for a 4-man grouping here as they have Hana actually hovering topside, but he should be coming back. Let's talk a little bit about the win conditions that Deep Cross are going to be trying to give for themselves, because they do seem to have a smattering of things that sit squarely in their comfort zone.
Yeah, and for the most part, they do have a lot of shoving lanes, right? You have a Gnar with that extra range advantage in the Boomerang. It can help him get lane priority. You also have the Rise in the mid lane. Of course, we know what he can do. And against a Victor who doesn't get that extra wave clear early on, he should be able to get mid lane priority pretty readily. And then in that bottom lane, you have a range support up against the melee support, so you should also get lane priority. So it's about being able to invade and slow down Kongrye, prevent him from ganking. That, I think, is going to be the main win condition for DCG. And then with all these shoving lanes, just try and pretty much go full court press, as we would say in basketball.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. The only concern that I would have about that, right, is that Hana's not really been the fastest jungler. He's played a lot of champions like this Hecarim because he gets into the 5v5s. He gets to play for the team fights a little bit more. But Kongrye works a lot faster than he does, so I feel like he's going to need to pick up the pace if he wants to try and shut him down, or he's going to be relying on his team to roam early, which they do quite a bit of.
Yeah, and J-Team, I do think that overall this draft just offers them a lot of potential. Driver also hitting level 2. He can just kind of walk in onto Leaky, dumping so much damage.
Yeah, that's pre-Narbar.
Yeah, that was so smooth. And we're seeing the blind pick get punished.
Yeah, Woody takes Dredge line out of Enzo. They just trade a little bit of damage. Lilvi is forced to tank a bit too, but that level 2 early pop for J-Team's bot lane does give them a little timing window. And you're absolutely right, Nightstar. It is looking like the pressure's kind of turning around just a little bit there. Curious, that top lane is always going to be one to watch, especially the GP versus Gnar. But when you're talking about J-Team, you got to keep your eyes on Kongrye and where he is going to go. You mentioned hyperscaling. He's pretty much the one champion on that team that really won't. I mean, I guess you don't really count the supports. But where does he focus his attention? What does he get done? Because right now it's pretty even on the jungle farm. The pathing both teams should pretty much know where each other's going to be. But Kongrye can get involved early, and he tends to like to help Uniboy out. But unless you want to counter gank, I don't know if you necessarily need to be there. As Hana is here in this mid lane, and Uniboy a little low on mana. Hana's gonna get spotted upriver though.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of the rare instances where if you're J-Team, you're not going to play through Uniboy in this game. Okay, nice hook.
Catch.
Good damage.
Taken very low there. Good Riptide. They do get the root back on. Criscata doing everything he can to try and return fire. That is both ignites expended by the supports on the bottom side, but inconclusive. No first bloods just yet. And as we expected, it's a very spicy 2v2 in this bottom lane to kick things off.
Yeah, and I also think for J-Team, like their focal point should be down in this bottom lane because of the fact that you have the CC offered by Nautilus. It's really hard to find ganks in a lot of these other lanes, except if DCG laners do overshove and put themselves in a poor lane state. Certainly in those instances, you could see a gank come through, but I think it's about, if you're going to gank a lane, it's about this bottom lane. And then otherwise, you're looking to make sure your GP doesn't get dove on.
For sure. Right now, they haven't really had to worry about that. And in fact, Driver has built up a little bit of a CS lead, although I think it's just close enough to probably tango back and forth for a little bit. That Sheen buy on the first back here, as we'll take a look at how the player levels are shaking out in this early game. Been relatively quiet, with a small CS advantage just about for J-Team. And you can see Lilvi is pulling ahead of Criscata, the veteran trumping the rookie in this early game. Does have the composition, does have the 2v2 for it. And with the Nautilus priority, You know, this is something that we talked about in the pregame before we were getting ready for today. I know you mentioned that Nautilus is a pretty big pick, not just because of its inherent popularity and its ability to set up these plays, but because Lilvi had a hard time stopping the face tanks and stopping the dredge lines into him. So the solution has just been, we're just going to first rotation it.
Yeah, this Nautilus pick is going to be pretty important in the series as well. It feels like a lot of these picks, if left through, will just get snapped up, right? Like a lot of the bans we saw in the first phase. And then this Nautilus pick, just because of the fact that Lil V, he's shown, depending on day, he's going to be extremely streaky when it comes to dealing with avoiding these hooks. So game number 1, they're starting on a good foot in the fact that, well, he doesn't have to deal with the Nautilus.
Okay, Kongye is backing in Tribrush, but he has stopped it. Looks like they want to try and bait an overextension here from Kriskata and Woody. It's been a very quiet early game, 6 minutes, no first blood. Okay, there's going to be the root down, and into the Flame Choppers. Woody just barely dodges it, and oh, Kongye, he smelled the blood, but it wasn't close enough for him to capitalize on.
Yeah, Lil V takes a large chunk of damage, and it's because of the fact that they wanted to bait that fight, right? If you get grabbed by the handshake, that might prompt DCG to start unloading and put themselves in a spot where you can collapse. But again, Enzo, he has to be the real big starter for that fight, being able to land the hook. And now it looks like DCG, they're going to bring multiple members. They have the mid jungle rotating over, but it won't be a dive on bot lane, but rather it's going to be a turn for this blue buff, which is a good deny from the Victor because it does limit his ability to control that mid lane.
Yeah, and it's taking away one of Kongye's camps. As you mentioned, this was one of the strategies. They wanted to try and delay the Lee Sin as best they could. Hana does actually get 6 before his opposite number. So far it's working out okay for Deep Cross. They haven't really lost anything in this game. Sure, Leaky got a little zoned away, but they're able to use the extra presence that they have down bot to start off on this Infernal. Able to take that one without any contest right now as they claim number 1. There'll be an Ocean Dragon on the Rift number 2.
Yeah, and as of now, there's not a whole lot happening on the Rift. J-Team, of course, pretty happy to scale up with this composition. And for the side of DCG, we know when Hana is on more of these team fighting champions, he does take a long time to actually get involved onto the map. He does like the full clear more often than not. And in this instance, it sort of works out because he is up against a Lee Sin. So in the isolated matchup, Lee Sin needs to have more done in order to get more value out of the pick. But you might see a pick-off coming in from J-Team. It does look like they will exit the bush. I mean, it is a level 6 with red-white on Affilio, so it's incredibly dangerous to just go for that fight. Because if you don't burst out the Affilios and one-shot him, which they weren't level 6, so they didn't have the Jinx ultimate to follow up with the Nautilus ult, then he just turns things around with either the Severum burst heal or the Crescendum infinite amount of damage.
So right now, what Deep Cross are able to do is, as the Jinx Rocket comes in, okay, yeah, Hana, I think he saw that one coming. He backs away so that the AoE doesn't hit it. They've gotten objectives on both sides of the map, relatively uncontested, and I think this is what you were talking about in the pick ban as far as win conditions go, pushing lanes. They're not necessarily winning the lanes, but they are pushing them out, which does make it a little bit hard for J-Team to try and contest a little, and now J-Team is looking to push deep in enemy territory. Take a look at Enzo right now on a warding spree. He's going to bring Kongye in as well to try and counter jungle on the Raptor camp. So this is that timing window, but we might be setting up for a dive, though.
Yeah, and this is such a smart play coming in from J-Team. They know that they can't contest for the Rift Herald, so what do? They get such nice layered deep vision in this bottom side of the map. So now wherever Hana does go, unless it's straight through lane coming in bot, they will have vision of him. So I love this adaptation coming in from J-Team, knowing that they can't challenge that Rift Herald. And they don't really need to either, because they have that 500 gold lead. That's more than the 320 that you would get from the 2 plates that you would be snagging with Rift Herald. It's just a matter of, can DCG also get first tower with this?
Yeah, that's the question, right? Is they do have the scaling team, but they also have an opportunity to try and make a play. Ooh, Leaky, speaking of, tried to make the play himself, didn't quite find the Gnar shove. Driver was relatively safe there. It has been a quiet topside, but we'll see if that changes a little bit here. Hana doing Krugs directly on the ward, so that vision investment already paying off here as they do spy him. But there's nobody at home, so he wants a lane gank, but he's kind of just wasting time. He doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get it back, and now, I mean, the wave is slowly shoving in, but you already see the defensive setup coming in to make sure they don't get dove on this play with Lil V walking up to farm, because Konga is there.
Cascada is in a dangerous position right now. If he gets a hook, they're going to try to make this happen, but it will be a 3v3 unbeknownst to either side. There we go. Now they see Hana. They know he's still here.
Yeah. 3v3, but remember, Realm Warp can sort of cheat a little bit here, so Nesty should be able to arrive on the scene just a little bit faster, but Uniboy will contribute a little bit more damage at the very least. As things stand, though, it's still not a whole lot done.
That's a slow game.
Yeah, pretty slow, pretty steady, which, you know, sometimes we kind of expect it from a game one, more often than not, because both teams trying to feel each other out. They don't want to take that big of a risk. Usually that's when that's for game two, right, where you already have the win, or you need to take some risks to get back.
And they're going to try it now. That's a teleport to try and match the pressure, but yeah, J-Team, they get the investment to try and counteract. So as you correctly said, Nightstar, really that Herald doesn't result in much more than the 2 plates already popped down. Victor able to secure up his blue without too much trouble. Deep Cross really wanted that dive, but it felt like it was really telegraphed, and J-Team knew exactly what was happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to use this priority to cash in onto a second dragon, which J-Team they'll go ahead let go of. They know that, hey, right now DCG are pretty darn strong, and we'll just go ahead, let that go, because we know at 2 items, that's where we can start shifting the tides, itemization-wise. And Korea, he'll go ahead, steal away a couple of camps. So at this point, like DCG, this is where you need to start accelerating the game, where you look for these skirmishes to try and pick people off, because you know J-Team, they're definitely a ticking time bomb with this composition.
Oh yeah, starting to feel the pressure a little bit here. Be a little dangerous. Leaky thought about making a 1v1 play, but Kongye was around. Meanwhile, back into the bottom lane, no, nothing's happening there. As it looks like it for a second, but Woody is able to disengage, respecting the return fire potential out of the Renata Glass. It's the reason Woody's had a lot of success on this one. Mythic starting to be completed, though. A little bit faster on the side of J-Team. Lil V with Kraken Slayer. We saw about a minute ago, Driver got his Trinity Force, and just about everybody's starting to pick him up, but you can see there's a small window. Deep Cross just a little bit behind J-Team, and I think they're not feeling quite as confident in their ability to press the go button just yet.
Yeah, Hana, though, is pretty advanced forward, and I think Lil V's dead.
There we go. Yeah, not a lot of chance for him to go anywhere.
Gets
just
the plate.
Trying to get a little tower damage. Has the plate. Moral victory. They do get first blood. It's a 14-minute. That might be one of the latest first bloods we've seen this split. A very uncharacteristically slow start, but it is game 1 of a series.
Yeah, and more importantly, the first blood gold does go onto the Philia, so it will shore up some of the CS difference. And I'm not sure if he got any of the plates when they threw down that Rift Herald early on, just because it was a 4v4, very hard to walk up to get that gold split between you and the jungler. So when there's also 4 people, you know, more likely if you're approaching the turret, everyone else is as well, so you probably wouldn't get much value out of it regardless. But it will be first brick gold, and that will be DCG holding an ever so slight gold advantage. But just going back to itemization, I like the fact that we have J-Team going for the Leandries and the Kraken Slayer because you know there's a lot of bruisers on the side of DCG. There's going to be a lot of health coming in from this Hecarim, from the Mega Gnar, and also from this tank-oriented Rise build. So I like the adaptations item-wise.
Absolutely. The momentary advantage, though, does shift a little bit for J-Team as they get the opportunity to take their Herald. Still very even in gold despite the first blood. Well, about 300 difference for Deep Cross, but the Dragons do start to make up a bit. So you talked about accelerating the game state. That's what Deep Cross are trying to do right now. They've got 3 in the mid at the moment, but it is very difficult to push a wave against a Victor at any time in the game.
Yeah, and I think DCG, this second Herald is pretty important for them to try and accelerate the game, break that mid tower to then destabilize the map for J-Team. So J-Team, see if they take the fight. It doesn't look like it. Knowing that Mega Gnar has popped for Leaky, they just go ahead, say, we're going to try and zone you off. Maybe we get some chip damage on this mid tower, and we'll go from there. Oh, Nesty! What?
Flash Nesty. Oh, and he goes in. That's going to be the hostile takeover. Buying a little time as Woody gets a little help from Enzo to get the kill, but the counter engage is real. Konge flashes and smites down for the health. They can't quite delete him. What a chaotic fight. It only results in the death of Enzo, though. Now that's a surprise.
Yeah, but you look at how many health bars on the DCG side are actually pretty chunked, and that's why they're going to bring in a teleport. Woody takes another large chunk of damage, and yeah, Flash is really, really important for the side of DCG because of the fact that is a lot of their engage power, right? You need the Flash onto this Rise to get in range of champions on the side of J-Team. As we get to see the replay, you see him flash forward, and I mean, this was a great ultimate coming in from Woody. Really hard to find value with that Renata hostile takeover against the squad of J-Team, but they managed to do it in that instant. Unfortunately, though, aren't able to get more kills out of it.
Yeah, I think really Woody kind of saved that because you could see the Gangplank was doing so much work with his cannon barrage. I love how Kriskata flashes in the bush, but he sees like, okay, I can get Konge, but Konge is flashed out, so he tries for the auto, he's out of range and just hits the turret instead. That's gonna be a bit of a tilter.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate there, and I mean, Konge, he's just so slippery on this Lee Sin, and it's really, really forgiving for a playmaker like Konge to get the Lee Sin because he can go in, he can go out, a lot of freedom, and now Mega Gnar popped.
This is a little dangerous. Not a lot of flashes on the side of Deep Cross. Ooh, they dodged the Nautilus Hook, and Leaky doing a great job zoning, but will they be able to survive the ensuing fight as they've gotten the Dragon? I think they might leave their Gnar for dead. No, he flashes outside the pit. It's a full retreat spread here. For Deep Cross, the laser's going to do it. Uniboy gets one on a hostile takeover. It's not going to be enough for Woody to get bailed out this time. So J-Team go for the chase, and Deep Cross pay pretty dearly for that Dragon.
Yeah, they get themselves the third Dragon. However, J-Team, they find what they wanted, which are kills, and now they have priority in this bottom lane. They might be able to take down this tier 2, but as things stand, J-Team certainly starting to get online as Cannon Barrage does get dumped down, and Enzo will walk away.
Yeah, that was an interesting turn of events for sure. Even in kills and just about even in gold now, you could see that while J-Team were pushing bot, Kriskata actually just free-fired down the mid. Let's take a look at this fight, because this was a tense one, and it could have gone a lot worse for Deep Cross.
Yeah, a little bit disjointed on the play actually coming in from J-Team. We see the kick coming in from Konge right when the hook comes out from Enzo, and as a result, they don't actually get their hands onto Kriskata. However, they are able to still finish off those two members of DCG, and a great cleanse coming in from Lil V to make sure he's able to secure that kill without doing a number on his team, because getting that hostile takeover landed onto you when you have Kraken Slayer as the Jinx, you are doing so much damage, and if that gets turned on to your own team with the AoE rockets, you might be getting a pentakill on your own squad.
Yeah, that's a downside of having those hyper carries too far ahead, I suppose. It is really an ultimate that we haven't really seen as much massive impact from because it's so situational. But
Yes.
Woody has been one of our best players, if not our best player, on this run out of glass. So it's something that J-Team have to take into their calculations in these fights. Very even game in the gold, but that Dragon stack is building. Keeping in mind it's a Cloud Soul, the ability haste is certainly going to help out. Off the back of that fight, though, as we crest the 20-minute mark, we do see the Bloodthirster coming in. For Criscata, he does have a little more sustain to work with. So they're going to try to make these fights last longer, but I don't know if that's going to matter. Uniboy just deletes Woody off the map. A nice combo with Enzo on the hook. Criscata had no chance to help him out.
Yeah, no flash on Woody means that when he's caught out like that, he is absolutely dead. And this time, Kongra does line up with that hook on Enzo. So nice 1-2 punch there. Now J-Team, they'll be able to get this mid tower, but we'll see if Hana wants to try and engage. It looks like he's decided against it, as Leaky does have the teleport up, but I wasn't quite looking for the play. I think that they certainly decided against just pulling the trigger there. But J-Team definitely online now, and you can see a second item's completed here. While it's a little bit more defensive, you know, you have the extra range coming in from RFC. You also have the Zonia's Hourglass. I think it's just great bridge items to make sure you get to your big power spike, which is that third item.
Oh, look at this, Uniboy.
Woo.
That was a fantastic party portal to just dive on top of Uniboy. Good split for Deep Cross.
So good damage.
This might even open the opportunity to take the Baron. It's pretty early here as Kongye, he wants to chase on, but the rest of the cavalry has arrived. And they could see that's the teleport. Criscata dodging out from the rocket. Driver is absolutely going nowhere right now. He's trying to drive back to his safety.
Hana's going.
Here goes the unstoppable onslaught. Lil V knocked back in, rooted for days. Woody getting the kill credit. Deep Cross, they just pull the old switcheroo on J-Team.
Yeah, and Deep Cross Gaming, they just understand their timing windows, how or when they can fight, and that was definitely an instance where they could look for the fight. Kongra, though, lands the Q, could go in.
Does go in, does go out. That's
Driver's doing so much damage.
Situation. They took way too long. That's going to be another one off the back of Driver's ultimate.
It's
the Baron's still alive.
J-Team,
J-Team, they're going to be able to get him in this one. Leaky going low. Woody forced to flash out. Nesty's in this, and they still do not have the smite. Who's going to get it in the end? This has gone absolutely pear-shaped. Nesty looking for more. The Baron is the raid boss. The Baron is the raid boss. 9-star. 800 hit points.
They're just gonna
J-Team gonna secure it. Just barely. Fail out for Nesty. Can't quite get the kills. What the heck did we just watch?
Oh my God, Pyra, what a fight. Holy moly. Everyone is just so low. It was the ultimate. It looked like it was going to become a yakety sax moment, but J-Team just pull out just the smallest edges there. DCG, they make a great call to look for that Baron, but then J-Team do such a great job with the 3v5, and Driver is absolutely ginormous now. He is 4-0-2. He gets a triple kill in that last fight. He has completed Collector now, and I know Collector might not be a fan favorite when it comes to itemization, but when you have that armor penetration already coming in, that was a lot of work. As we see Lil V, he gets caught out, and when that pick came in, I thought it was just done, dusted. This is going to be Baron. It's up to Kongra to make a hero steal, but J-Team, they understand this gangplank is so big, and they can't do anything against the Cannon Barrage. This Cannon Barrage is doing so much work. Criscata, he can't walk into the pit to play with his team, so they're just playing split. Now, teleport comes in from Uniboy because he got picked off a long time ago to start out this play, and now he's respawned. He can rejoin. He has, of course, a lot of damage with that Leandries, and he's just pumping it out, and now it's just... This was where things got really crazy because no smites on both sides. We're trying to secure Baron, but we also are trying to find the fight. And nice hook there. I mean, gotta admire Nesty trying to find the steal, but you know,
it was so close.
Yeah.
That was almost the legendary double Baron throw. But we gotta talk about this one as the big setup comes through. Criscata's off the map. Hana comes in, but it is a little bit too late now as they go back to collapse for the turnaround. Leaky on the front, about to run out of Meganar. Kongye goes in, Kongye goes back. Woody, Leaky, both low. They lose Enzo in the engage, but the trade for Criscata is so much more worth for J-Team as they still have 4 members healthy with Baron. In the face of the Dragon stack, J-Team completely deny the Baron. They deny the Drake. They open the base first, and it is J-Team at 25 minutes that have cracked into Deep Cross's base.
Yeah, and for the side of Deep Cross, it doesn't matter if J-Team lose their main engage. If you lose your main damage source, which is Criscata on this Aphelios, there's just no damage afterwards. Yes, the Triforce Gnar can do a little bit of work, but you have a tank Rise. So if the side of J-Team, they just go ahead and armor stack. They're not taking a whole lot of damage after Criscata dies. So
that
nice hook there, beautiful hook. And yes, he does get the bailout casted onto him, but he isn't able to get the assist to actually stay alive. And then, without any damage,
staying alive.
Okay, great pick coming in our smaller screen there. Lil V getting the kill onto Hana. That's also big because that's jungler down. Actually, not going to be that impactful, actually.
But they can still push the top side. I mean, this is Night Star. Things are starting to look a little bad for Deep Cross. Yeah, right now they're building up that gold lead. You can find them getting the picks. I mean, all of this was allowed by Driver just getting so fed. You talked about the Collector. Yes, it's not the sexiest item in League of Legends. We're aware of that, but it's still very important. It's still very impactful. And at this point, Driver is in a pop-off state. So as long as UD Boy and Lil V just put out consistent damage, it's so hard to engage into this comp. You saw Hana a little slower. When we talk about Hana being a slower jungler, that's what we mean. It's not that he's necessarily just like falling behind. It's that his engages just don't come as fast. And Criscata got completely destroyed in that bottom engage because he just didn't have the opportunity to get out of harm's way. The moment the hook lands on him from Enzo, he's just caught in the center of the cannon barrage. Driver's just looking to drop cannonballs on him for days, and that bailout was never going to last.
Yeah, and now here's another drawback of Nesty's build, right? Because he wants to go for that Frozen Heart, knowing that there's a lot of AD damage threats. But as we learned in yesterday's series with PSG and CFO, if you go for that Frozen Heart, because of the control mages coming out on the other side, this Victor will just absolutely shred you. So if you're able to pick off this Victor, maybe you stand a chance in the fight, but otherwise there's no way to navigate around again the GP ultimate and also the graph field coming in from Victor. The amount of space control offered here, you need to be able to find that realm warp into the back line with pretty much all your main engage, with the Gnar, with the Rise, and also this Hecarim. Otherwise it's just way too hard to get backline access.
Yeah, they need a pick, to be honest. It seems like it's going to be harder and harder to find as J-Team have just moved his 5. And yeah, the other issue on that Victor is even if you catch him, he's got the Zhonya's, right? So in the few seconds he's going to be in stasis. You got the GP dropping ultimates. You've got a 3-item Jinx now that the LDR is completed. So this just gets bad to worse. And Deep Cross, I feel like you might want to just sack this dragon right now because they're just watching it go. They would need a miracle of a pullback. Now here they go for the engage. Leaky gets pulled in. No Mega Gnar just yet. Here comes the ultimate out of Hana and into the hostile takeover. Do they have the damage they need? Enzo is going to go golden here, and that is a big ultimate down for Driver as he tries to cut them off, but it's just enough to take down the dragon. Gnar against the wall. They do find Enzo, but will it be enough? Kongye with the insect on a Criscata is going to deny the damage coming out of Deep Cross Gaming here, and Nesty has nowhere to go. The cleanup crew is coming in. The zap is dodged, but Hana, I don't think he can run forever. And that's going to be a big win for J-Team marching down the mid lane.
Yeah, and Hana holds on to his life along with Nesty, but they are running in the opposite direction of their Nexus. So they will go ahead, get those recalls off, but we can clearly see J-Team's composition is just online. DCG, they took their time trying to find these picks, playing around objectives, and yes, they were able to get a lot of objectives in their favor with the Rift Herald, with these dragons, but they weren't able to find the killing blow, and that was the Baron. Now J-Team, with this second Baron, they can really put a nail in the coffin for game number 1. Hana locked out of the pit. Uniboy might get caught out though.
Yeah, calling it Uniboy could be. That's going to be the kickback, but Hecarim goes in with the charge, but the rest of the cavalry arrives once again. Hana goes into stasis for a second, dodges out the Jinx Rocket. Doesn't matter, gets yoinked back in to another one as Lil V picks up the kill. A valiant effort completely stymied here as J-Team have taken full control. Let's take a look at this fight one more time.
Yeah, we take a look at this fight. The hook lands onto Leaky. The engage comes in from Hana. Honestly, this is probably the best engage you could look for because you're able to chain the Hecarim Fear into the hostile takeover. So it was as good as it gets, but there's just no damage. Cascada, he can't walk forward to deal damage because of the space control offered by the GP ultimate, by that Victor grab field. And because you're not doing damage in those moments of CC, you're overly reliant on Lil V killing his own team. And that didn't happen because he was the one member that did dodge out on that hostile takeover.
You can see the J-Team really respecting that distance, and they know that they can actually just get the outplay.
Oh, that's
Leaky
a big whiff.
Completely whiffs the Gnar. Uniboy just breathes deep in that hostile takeover as he goes into stasis, and with those key ultimates burned, it's going to be all J-Team here as they take down the inhibitor in the bottom side, looking to push this one in for the win in game one here. J-Team looking incredibly strong, just using the windows they have, using the engage tools they have, and just not allowing Deep Cross to get back into this. A massive Chaos Storm sends Woody back to the fountain. And you can see Hana, even though he goes on the ultimate, he knows this one is over with the sad B going through. Nesty trying to save the day. This might be the opportunity to save. No Nexus turrets, but here's the counter engage. Hana going through, just deleted. The pony is going for a fast route to the fountain as Leaky goes in for the second win, but Deep Cross pushed too hard, pushed too deep, and they will lose in game one here. It took a little longer than J-Team would have liked. But as Cascada is trying to hold the game, they're just going to pad these stats out. Lil V's unstoppable. GG, lights out. Game one to J-Team.
And DCG in game number one, they took a bit of a slow approach here, but with the fast compositional scaling difference coming in from the side of J-Team, they were easily able to strike back once those two items came online. Because they went for the defensive route, they were able to mitigate the big two-item power spike coming in from the side of DCG, and once it got to that third item, it was just lights out.
Yeah, I felt like it came down to who could stiff arm the other team more effectively, and J-Team, they just